The envelope was tucked under my windshield wiper, getting soaked in the Seattle rain. I almost threw it away. Almost. But something about the handwriting on the front made me pause. For the woman with the yellow umbrella. That was me. I was the only person in Pike Place Market that morning who'd thought to bring a bright yellow umbrella to work. The only splash of color in a sea of black and gray rain gear. And apparently, someone had noticed. My name's Grace, and back then I was 24 years old, working at a flower stand in the market. The stand was an explosion of color in the gray Seattle morning. Buckets of sunflowers like captured sunshine, roses in every shade from white to deep burgundy, sweet peas that filled the air with perfume. But my studio apartment smelled like old carpet and instant noodles, so small I could touch both walls if I stretched my arms out. The flowers at work were my real home, my daily dose of beauty. Eating instant noodles most nights because fresh flowers don't pay much, even when you love them. But that morning in March, someone had left me an envelope, and inside that envelope was about to be the beginning of everything changing. I opened it right there in the rain. Couldn't wait. Inside was a handwritten note and a $50 bill. The note said, "Yesterday, you gave my daughter your umbrella when hers broke. You walked home in the rain so she wouldn't have to. She's 8 and she has leukemia, and that was her first day back at school after chemo. You didn't know any of that. You just saw a kid getting wet and gave her your umbrella. This doesn't begin to repay your kindness, but I hope it helps. Thank you for reminding us that good people still exist. No signature, no name, just those words that made my hands shake a little." I remembered the girl. How could I not? The image came flooding back, clear as a photograph. She'd been standing by the bus stop, maybe 20 feet from my flower stand. Bright red raincoat like a poppy in the gray morning. Her umbrella, pink with unicorns on it, had flipped inside out in the wind. The metal spokes bent and broken, dangling like a dead bird. She was trying not to cry as the rain soaked through her backpack, her little shoulders shaking with the effort of being brave. I'd been closing up the flower stand, pulling the tarp over the buckets, when I saw her. Didn't think twice about it. My feet were already moving before my brain caught up. Just jogged over and knelt down to her height. "Hey, looks like your umbrella had a fight with the wind and lost," I'd said. She'd nodded, bottom lip trembling. "Good thing I have an extra." I'd handed her my yellow umbrella. "And look, it matches your coat better anyway. Yellow and red, like sunshine and roses." Her face had transformed, from storm clouds to sudden sun. She'd taken the umbrella with both hands like it was made of gold. "Thank you," she'd whispered. Then louder, with a gap-toothed grin, "Thank you, flower lady." I'd watched her skip away, yellow umbrella bouncing above her head like a portable sun. By the time I'd walked home, I was soaked to the skin. But somehow I'd felt warmer than I had all week. I hadn't thought about it again. It was just what you do, right? But standing there with $50 in my hand, more money than I'd have left after bills that month, I felt something shift. Not just because of the money, but because someone had noticed. Someone had seen a tiny act of kindness and decided it mattered. I tucked the money into my wallet, separate from my other cash, like it was something special, which I guess it was. The flower stand was quiet that morning. Rain always kept customers away. Just me and thousands of flowers. Roses and tulips and daffodils. All those colors waiting for someone to take them home. My boss, Maria, was in the back, singing along to the radio in Spanish. She'd owned this stand for 30 years. Hired me when I showed up one day and correctly identified every flower she pointed to. "You have the gift," she'd said. "Flowers talk to you." They did, kind of. Each one had its own personality, its own story. The roses were proud, the daisies were friendly, the orchids were mysterious, and the sunflowers were pure joy, even on gray days like this one. Around lunch, a man came to the stand. Older guy, maybe 60, worn jeans and work boots. The kind of hands that had built things, fixed things. He stood there for a long time, just looking at the flowers. Not the way most men did. Not like he was checking items off a list. But really looking. Like he was trying to remember something. "Can I help you?" I asked. He startled a little, like he'd forgotten he wasn't alone. "It's my wife's birthday," he said. Would have been. She passed last year." "I'm sorry," he shrugged. That shrug men do when feelings are too big for words. "She loved flowers, used to grow them, had this whole garden." He trailed off, cleared his throat. "Anyway, thought I'd get some, for her grave, but I don't know what she'd want. I never paid enough attention." I looked at him, really looked. Saw the wedding ring still on his finger, the way his shoulders curved inward. The lost look of someone trying to navigate a world that had fundamentally changed. "Tell me about her," I said. He blinked. "What?" "Tell me about your wife. What was she like?" And he did. Right there in the flower market, his voice rough like sandpaper, catching on certain words like they had hooks. Told me about Linda, how she laughed at her own jokes. "A sound like bells," he said. How she made the best apple pie in 3 counties. How she'd wake up early just to watch the sunrise, dragging him out to the porch with coffee. How she used to dance in the kitchen while cooking dinner, twirling with a wooden spoon like it was a microphone. How she'd been sick for 2 years but never complained, not once. As he talked, I started pulling flowers. My hands moved on their own, guided by his words. Each stem I chose felt like I was building a portrait. A sunflower because she loved mornings. Big and bold and impossible to ignore. White roses because she wore them in her hair at their wedding. He'd touched his own gray hair when he said that, like he could still see them. Purple irises because purple was her favorite color. Not lavender, he insisted, but deep purple like summer evenings. Baby's breath because she was gentle, used to rescue spiders instead of killing them. Eucalyptus because she loved the smell, kept it in vases all over the house. I found myself thinking about this woman I'd never met, imagining her in that kitchen, dancing. Seeing her in the garden at sunrise. As I wrapped the stems together, it felt less like making a bouquet and more like resurrection. Like bringing Linda back, just for a moment, in petals and leaves. By the time I finished, I'd created a bouquet that somehow looked like joy and sadness and love all wrapped together. He stared at it. His eyes got wet. That's perfect. That's Linda. How much do I owe you?" I thought about the $50 in my wallet, about kindness given and kindness received, about how sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need exactly when you need to pass it on. "It's on the house," I said. "Happy birthday to Linda." He stood there for a moment, just stood there. Then he reached out and squeezed my hand. His palm was rough, warm, real. "Thank you," he said. And I knew he meant for more than just the flowers. After he left, Maria came out from the back. She'd been watching. She always watched everything. "That was $60 worth of flowers," she said. "I know. You can't afford to give away $60 worth of flowers." "I know." She studied me, then smiled. "Yes, you have the gift, not just with flowers, with people. The funny thing about kindness is how it moves, like ripples in water. You can't always see where it goes, but it goes somewhere. Always." 2 days later, a woman came to the stand, professional looking, business suit, and sensible shoes, but her face was soft, kind. "Are you Grace?" she asked. I nodded. "My father came here 2 days ago. You made him a bouquet for my mother's grave, for free." My stomach dropped. Was I in trouble? Was she angry? "He hasn't been to her grave since the funeral," she continued. "Couldn't face it. But something about you, about what you did. He went, spent the whole afternoon there, talking to her, He called me crying. Good tears. Healing tears. The first good tears in a year. She pulled out an envelope. He wanted me to give you this. I can't take. Please, he insisted. He said you gave him his wife back, even if just for an afternoon. You can't put a price on that. Inside the envelope was a check for $500 and a note. For your kindness to a stranger, may it bloom into something beautiful. Robert. $500. Rent for the month. Food that wasn't instant noodles. Maybe even new shoes without holes. But more than that, it was validation. That kindness mattered. That small acts could have big impacts. But the story doesn't end there. Because kindness, real kindness, it keeps moving. I used some of the money for bills. Of course I did. But I kept $200 aside, waiting, watching, looking for where it needed to go. I found it a week later. There was a kid who came by the flower stand sometimes, maybe 13. Always looked but never bought. I'd see him counting change in his palm, looking at the $5 bouquets, walking away empty-handed. You saving up for something special? I asked one day. He turned red, shoved his hands in his pockets. My mom, she's in the hospital. Been there 3 weeks. I wanted to bring her flowers, but he shrugged. I only got $3 saved, and that took 2 weeks of lunch money. $3. 2 weeks of going hungry at lunch. For flowers for his mom. What's her favorite flower? I asked. I don't know. Something yellow, maybe? She always says yellow is happy. I started building a bouquet, all yellows. Sunflowers and roses and daffodils. Bright as sunshine, big as hope. The kind of yellow that reminded me of umbrellas and rainy days and small acts of kindness. The kid watched with wide eyes. I can't afford that, he said quietly. Sure you can. $3, right? Special sale today. Yellow flowers are $3. He looked at me like I might be joking. When he realized I wasn't, his whole face changed. Like the sun coming out. Like someone had just handed him a yellow umbrella in the rain. Really? Really, but there's one condition. His face fell a little. What? You have to promise to eat lunch tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Your mom needs you healthy. He nodded so hard I thought his head might fall off. Handed me 3 crumpled dollar bills. Took the bouquet like it was made of gold. Tell your mom they're from her son who loves her enough to save his lunch money, I said. That's worth more than any flowers. He practically ran from the market. Flowers held high, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Maria watched him go, shook her head, but she was smiling. You're going to go broke being so kind, she said. Maybe, but what a way to go. The thing about working at a flower stand is you see everyone. Happy people buying roses for first dates, sad people buying lilies for funerals, guilty people buying apologies, hopeful people buying new beginnings. You see it all. And if you pay attention, really pay attention, you see the moments where a little kindness can change everything. Like the elderly woman who came every Friday. Always bought a single carnation. Always paid in exact change. One Friday, she didn't have enough. Came up 15 cents short, started to put the flower back. Wait, I said, pulled 15 cents from the tip jar. Someone left this for you. For me? Must have been. It's exactly what you need. She smiled, took her carnation. The next week, she brought cookies, homemade chocolate chip. For the person who left me the 15 cents, she said with a wink, or the teenage boy who wanted to ask a girl to prom but couldn't afford a corsage. I taught him how to make one from flowers that were slightly past their prime but still beautiful. Showed him how to wrap the stems with florist tape that smelled like spring. How to tie the ribbon, white satin that whispered between his nervous fingers. The concentration on his face as he bent each delicate petal into place. Sent him off with a corsage that looked professional and a confidence boost that was worth more than any flowers. He came back the next week, with the girl, both of them grinning. "She said yes," he announced, like I'd been waiting to hear. Which I guess I had been. "Of course she did," I said. "Boy who makes his own corsage, that's a keeper." Each act was small, tiny really, 15 cents here, a free lesson there. But they added up, like drops of water eventually fill a bucket. One morning in June, I arrived at work to find Maria crying. Not sad tears, happy tears. She was holding a letter. "What's wrong?" I asked, panicked. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect." She handed me the letter. It was from a law firm. Lots of legal language I didn't understand. But Maria explained. A customer had passed away, a regular who bought flowers every week, had left Maria money in her will. Enough to buy the flower stand outright. No more rent, no more worrying about making ends meet. 40 years I've been renting this space, Maria said. 40 years of wondering if next month I'd have to close. And now... Who was it? I asked. Who left you the money? Maria smiled. Remember Mrs. Chen, quiet lady, always bought yellow roses? I remembered. She'd been coming for years, never said much, just pointed to what she wanted, smiled, paid, left. Turns out she was very wealthy and very alone, said in her letter that this flower stand was the bright spot in her week. The only place where people smiled at her just because. Not because they wanted something, just because she was there. Maria wiped her eyes, looked at me. She mentioned you specifically. Said the young woman with the kind eyes always took extra care with her flowers, always made sure the roses were fresh, always smiled like she meant it. I was just doing my job. No, Maria said firmly. You were being kind. There's a difference. The summer passed in a blur of flowers and small kindnesses. The $50 from the yellow umbrella had long since multiplied into something harder to measure. Not in money, but in connections, in moments, in the quiet recognition that we're all walking around with hidden struggles. And sometimes, the smallest gesture can lift a weight we didn't even know someone was carrying. Then came October, and with it, a surprise that changed everything. I was closing up the stand one evening when she appeared, the little girl with the broken umbrella. Only now she had hair. Short, fuzzy hair like a baby chick, but hair, and she was smiling. You're the flower lady, she announced. Behind her stood a woman who had to be her mother. Same eyes, same smile, but tired. The kind of tired that comes from fighting battles nobody else can see. This is Grace, the mother said. The woman who gave you her umbrella. The girl's eyes went wide. The yellow umbrella lady, Mom, it's her, the one I told everyone about. I know, sweetie. The mother looked at me, really looked, like she was trying to memorize my face. I'm Jennifer, she said. This is Lily. We've been looking for you. Looking for me? Lily's been through a lot. The day you gave her your umbrella was her first day back at school after 6 months of treatment. She was terrified, sick, exhausted. Then her umbrella broke and she just broke down until you appeared. Like a flower fairy, Lily interrupted, with a magic yellow umbrella. Jennifer smiled at her daughter, then at me. She told everyone about you, the nurses, the doctors, the other kids in treatment, this person who gave away their umbrella just because. It became her story, her proof that the world was still good, that strangers could be kind, that she'd be okay because there were people like you in the world. I felt tears building, tried to blink them back. The flower market suddenly felt too small, too bright, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. She made us promise to find you, to thank you properly, but also... Jennifer paused, took a breath. Also to tell you what your kindness started. She explained how Lily had begun bringing umbrellas to the hospital, collecting them, giving them to other kids on rainy days, how it had become a whole thing. The Umbrella Project, they called it. Kids with cancer giving umbrellas to other kids with cancer. A little bit of brightness on dark days. 300 umbrellas so far, Lily announced proudly. All different colors, but yellow is still the best. 300 umbrellas. I pictured them in my mind, a storm of color in the gray Seattle rain, each one carried by a child who'd been given hope and warmth from someone who'd been shown it themselves. From one $50 umbrella given without thinking. The image made me dizzy. How something so small could grow so large. How a moment's kindness could multiply like flowers from seeds. But that's not why we're here, Jennifer continued. We're here because Lily has something for you. Lily stepped forward, handed me a wrapped package. Open it. Inside was a painting, a child's painting, but beautiful in its simplicity, a yellow umbrella floating above a flower market. Underneath, in careful letters, "Thank you for teaching me to be the umbrella." I painted it myself, Lily said. When I was in the hospital. Do you like it? I love it, I said, and meant it. Good, because there's more. She pulled out another envelope. We did a fundraiser. For you. Well, not for you. For your kindness. To keep it going. Inside the envelope was a check. A very large check. And a note explaining that Lily's story had inspired a fundraiser at the Children's Hospital. Money raised to create a kindness fund at Pike Place Market. To help vendors who were struggling, to spread the kind of spontaneous generosity that had started with a yellow umbrella. We want you to be in charge of it, Jennifer said, to decide who needs help, how to spread it around. Lily insisted, said the flower fairy would know what to do. I stared at the check, at the number that seemed impossible, at what it could mean for Maria, for the kid saving lunch money, for the elderly woman counting pennies, for all the invisible struggles I saw every day. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Lily said, and promise to keep being the umbrella. I said yes. Of course I said yes. The Kindness Fund changed everything. Not just for me, but for the whole market. Vendors who were one bad month from closing suddenly had breathing room. Kids who pressed their noses against windows wishing suddenly found small gifts waiting. Elderly people on fixed incomes discovered their favorite treats mysteriously prepaid. But the best part was how it spread. Like flowers growing wild. Other vendors started their own small kindnesses. The bread baker leaving day-old loaves for the hungry. The coffee shop creating a pay-it-forward board. The fruit vendor slipping extra apples into bags when no one was looking. Maria used her newfound security to hire more people. Kids from the neighborhood who needed jobs. Teaching them about flowers, but also about kindness. About seeing people, really seeing them. We're not just selling flowers, she'd tell them. We're selling moments of beauty, chances for connection, opportunities for kindness. And me? I kept working at the flower stand. Kept watching for moments where small kindnesses could make big differences. The Kindness Fund helped, but it was never really about the money. It was about paying attention, about remembering that everyone is fighting battles we can't see, about being willing to be someone's umbrella in the rain. It's been 5 years now since that morning in March. 5 years since I found an envelope under my windshield wiper. Lily is 13 now, cancer-free. Comes by the flower stand sometimes to help out. Still collecting umbrellas, still spreading brightness. The man who lost his wife, Robert? He volunteers at the market now, helps elderly people carry their groceries, brings flowers to the vendors on their birthdays. Found a way to honor Linda by being kind to strangers. The kid who saved his lunch money? He's in high school now. Works part-time at the flower stand, saving for college, but also saving to buy flowers for other kids' moms in the hospital. Paying it forward in $3 increments. And the yellow umbrella? I still have it. Lily gave it back to me on the 1-year anniversary of our meeting. Said I might need it to help someone else. It hangs in the flower stand now. A reminder, a promise, a symbol of how one small act can ripple outward in ways we never imagine. People sometimes ask me about that day, about the $50 and the yellow umbrella and how it all started. And I tell them the truth, that I don't know who left that envelope on my windshield, never found out, but I know why they did it. Because they understood something I was only beginning to learn. That kindness isn't just what we do. It's who we become. One small act at a time, one umbrella, one bouquet, one moment of seeing someone who needs to be seen. It doesn't take much. Just the willingness to notice, to act, to believe that small gestures matter, because they do. They matter more than we know. Last week I saw a woman give her scarf to a homeless man, saw a teenager help an elderly person with their groceries, saw a businessman buy coffee for the person behind him in line. Small acts, tiny kindnesses. But I know now what I didn't know 5 years ago. Those aren't just nice gestures. They're seeds. And if we're lucky, if we pay attention, if we nurture them just right, they grow into something beautiful. Something that changes not just one life, but dozens, hundreds, maybe more. The flower stand is busy these days, not just with customers, but with community. People stop by just to chat, to share their stories, to be part of something that feels bigger than buying and selling. Maria says it's because flowers have magic, draw people together, but I think it's simpler than that. I think people are hungry for kindness, desperate for connection, longing to be part of something good, and when they find a place where kindness lives, where small gestures are celebrated, where everyone matters, they keep coming back. So I keep showing up, keep arranging flowers, keep watching for opportunities to be someone's yellow umbrella. Not because I'm especially good or generous or kind, but because I learned something that morning in March, standing in the rain with $50 in my hand. I learned that kindness comes back to you, not always in the way you expect, not always from the person you helped. But it comes back, multiplied, magnified, made more beautiful by its journey through other hands, other hearts, other lives. That's the kindness I'll never forget. Not just the $50 or the yellow umbrella or any single act, but the truth that underneath it all, we're connected by invisible threads of potential goodness, by the possibility that any moment could be the moment we change someone's day, someone's year, someone's life. All we have to do is notice, act, and trust that kindness, like flowers, finds a way to bloom, even in the rain, especially in the rain. I can hear it now, pattering on the market's tin roof like gentle applause. The air smells like wet pavement and roses. The yellow umbrella hangs above my head, bright as a promise in the gray morning light, waiting for its next journey, its next chance to shelter someone from the storm. Maria caught me looking at the umbrella this morning. She just smiled, arranging tulips with her weathered hands. "Still waiting for the next one?" she asked. I nodded. "Good," she said. "That's how we know we're alive. Always watching, always ready." And if you see someone caught without an umbrella, well, you know what to do.